The story begins in the United States in 2006, when one young woman develops an interest in genealogy. Meet Jessica Desmond.
Well, because my great-grandfather moved from Britain to the States, I've always been interested in where I came from and who my family were. So I decided to ask my relatives and find out, and that's when I found out about this story that had happened.
Jessica's research unearthed a terrible family secret dating back to England during World War II, a time when almost everything was rationed. Food was scarce. Supply ships were constantly under attack, according to this historian. Meet Robert Opie.
The main shipping route was coming over from America, both Canada and the USA. And Hitler was clearly doing everything he could to stop that transport. During the whole of the war, he did manage to sink 2,500 merchant ships, which had a huge effect on our survival. So it was essential to have a rationing system, because we knew that unless we had equal supplies for everybody, people would actually literally starve.
Sugar, milk, meat, butter, eggs, fruit, virtually everything was in short supply. Jessica's great-grandfather Bill, who was living in the U.S., began sending food parcels to his sister Anne and her two children, Kitty and Ronald, in London.
Some people were fortunate to have relatives overseas. Not many people did. And they were fortunate because, of course, the Americans or Canadians or wherever they were would send food parcels over from time to time. It was a great treat, you know, because you had all kinds of delights.
He would send, like, if there was a new cereal or chocolate bar or comics, and he'd send over, like, custard powder. And they always used to get really excited about it, apparently.
To the kids, Ron and Kitty, it was the biggest treat of all.
So it was a fun experience and an exciting time. It was like Christmas, I suppose, a food parcel arriving with some wonderful things.
Uncle Bill would send packages every 30 days without fail. But in July of 1942, the parcels suddenly stopped. The Desmonds assume the ship carrying their package has been torpedoed.
I suppose quite often they didn't get those food parcels because the ship was sunk.
But then, in September, a package arrives at their home. It is full of usual goodies, including what Ronald and Kitty want the most, custard.
When it arrived, that tea time, they boiled a bowl of hot water and mixed in the powder and gave the kids, like, a bowl each.
As their mother is mixing it, she notices it looks unusual. But the children don't care. They've been looking forward to this for weeks. The children take a mouthful, but it tastes as bad as it looks. Anne throws the rest away, assuming it has gone bad. But the truth is stomach churning.
It's another box from Uncle Bill.
A couple of days later, another package arrives along with a letter, which contains some bad news.
The letter said, Bill has died of a heart attack.
The news of her brother's death is a shock, but the rest of the news is even more shocking.
Grandma said that his heart always belonged in England, and when he died, he wanted to be buried in British soil. In the box with the greaseproof paper, it was not the custard powder. It was his ashes.
Bill had returned to his beloved England, but not how he had intended. Anne had unknowingly fed her children Uncle Bill's cremated corpse. The rest of his remains were thrown out in the garbage.
Well, I mean, can you imagine eating your great-grandpa? That's just eating your own family.
The children never ate custard again. A gruesome wartime tale, But are we rationing the truth? Did it happen? And Uncle Custard. Was the story of the uncle's remains mixed up as custard and fed to the children true? It was false. In other versions of the story, Uncle Bill is mistaken for flour, powdered soup, or spices. And the explanatory letter always gets delayed or is in a foreign language. But what doesn't change is the part where the family eats some of it before the gruesome discovery. Either way, the story is a hoax.